Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Pizza and Property. This is your weekly slice edition. My name's Todd Sloan, and today we're going to be talking about the first home buyers grant, but not so much for the reason that you might think, and more specifically, the first home buyers grant that's in South Australia. And the reason I wanted to bring this one to light is because it feels like it's kind of in the dark. Last time we saw some kind of a government grant really be initiated, it was one of the fuses that was lit that just set the bomb, I probably should call it a bomb, but the boom going for the Australian property market. And whilst I don't think this has the power to do that around the country, obviously it's a South Australian grant, I do think because of a few key reasons that we're going to discuss with Ben McDonald, if you watch this closely and the right ingredients come together, this could be the catalyst for another market uplift in South Australia. And if you haven't entered our Unstuck Yourself competition yet, make sure to definitely don't lick the link, click the link in the show notes below, because one lucky person is going to be chosen every month to be flown right here to the studio in Adelaide, where you and I will make an episode together in front of a panel of the experts you need to get you unstuck and keep building your portfolio. Click the link in the show notes below. Definitely don't lick it. Make sure you click it. But now let's get into the episode with Ben McDonald from Fentons Conveyancing to talk about the first home owners grant in South Australia and how it could potentially fuel property prices moving forward. Ben McDonald, it's been a while. How are you?
Great, Todd. Really good to be back.
Mate, it's really good to actually have you on the show to talk about this one, because as much as our audience isn't massively on the first home buyer side of things, there's a few out there, but it's about the knock-on effect that this can actually have to the market that I think a lot of investors really might be, finding useful. But can we start with, in South Australia specifically, what is actually going on with the first home owners grant, and what are they like? What incentives are available?
Okay, so we've got the same $15,000 first home owners grant for new home.
Yep.
Or new home construction, so people building on vacant land. But then recently in the state budget, they've announced that we also now have stamp duty relief for first home buyers buying new homes under $650,000 or land to build their new home on under $400,000. So we've got this real drive that now first home buyers with brand new property could be getting about a $30,000 saving in stamp duty, or up to.
That's huge.
And $15,000 grant on top of that. So $45,000 to help them in that process.
And one of the reasons I wanted to actually get you specifically on for this is because you were actually the one that introduced the first home builder grant, I think in 2020 when that first came out. We chatted about that on here. And I remember when I was an agent, just started going off the hook. It was literally like days after it. Can you start talking from a conveyancer's point of view and historically as someone that's pretty closely follows the market, like what does this normally have as a knock-on effect for an investor that's still not convinced and they're like, I'm not a first-home buyer, I don't care yet?
Yeah, so housing construction grant and previous stamp duty remissions tend to see a big spike that people who are on the edge can suddenly tip into the market. So especially what we are starting to see, construction is still slow, so vacant land maybe is still slow, but that buyer market in brand new property in that $500,000 to $600,000 window is still where I keep getting told is hot. And that's what we got last time, is that they'll find the product that they're excited about. And I think for your listeners, it's the investors that could be building new stock to sell to market.
Yep.
That could be where the spike is in South Australia.
Because the thing that I couldn't work out, and you and I were chatting about this off air, and I thought you raised a very good point, was why it hasn't already massively spiked, because it feels like it was just going so quick. And you said something about it was the lack of supply that actually fits the grant. Is that right? Yeah,
so it needs to be brand new builds. So that means that it's a delay time for us to get there. So what we seem to find at the moment, first home buyers are a bit scared. Buying land and building takes a fair while to get through approvals and construction, so they want something quicker. That means that we need developers to be producing completed new builds.
Yep. And
while this only launched maybe back in May 23, June 23, then we've got this gap where you can't produce those magically, other than ones that were in the pipeline. I think it's that starting to come to market and some off-plan development sites where we should start to see some uptick.
And personally, this is where I see the opportunity, because I can see that before the boom, I don't want to use the word boom actually, but before the uptake increase, what's another positive I can descriptive, I don't know, but before things start to trend in that direction, it's when you can actually really get in and potentially make some decent money out of it. But if you jump on the boat afterwards, it's like it's already left, it's gone. So I feel that as much as there is this delay around it, it makes sense why you're saying the delay potentially exists there, because maybe young first-time buyers, buyers is the word I'm looking for, might be a little bit nervous about build times. Yep. They might be a little bit nervous about interest rates. Naturally, I certainly got nervous at a few points there. I'm glad that they seem to be staying where they are now. Who knows for how much longer? But if you then start looking at it from the historical point of view of what you were saying in 2020, and then how quickly everything happened, it's like this is potentially that little lull that people didn't get the opportunity for in 2020. That now look back and go, imagine if you did blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, if you're looking at buying in South Australia, now don't have the imagine if by the time we get to 2024. Again, as we always say, this is not financial advice. Please seek independent professional financial advice. But is this maybe the window that you wished you had have actually grabbed previously?
And especially I think for some people that probably holding some development sites that they might have bought during the boom, where maybe this is a time they could bring something to market. And there's given, basically your buyers, if they're first home buyers, have been given maybe an extra $30,000 in their pocket.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that could help with you finding a bit more margin in the process, or even bigger, probably moving stock quicker on bigger development sites if they've got 5, 10, 15 townhouses or smaller like developments in that 500, 600,000 bracket.
Yep.
Where time on market and holding cost is significant, if they can move them quicker, it will help to move on to other development sites.
And I know that sales agents are obviously the ones at the coalface, like seeing the change first. I feel like you're probably the second in that lineup, though. Like, are you starting to see much of it at all, or it's still not really ticking in?
No, I think at the moment it's probably more the decision in the developers' minds that's happening, and those initial conversations with salespeople where it is in the market.
Yep.
But I think there's also this bit, because typically they're not first home buyers and the media attention all comes, but it goes quickly in the first home buyer space, that I think that it's probably more about knowledge and planning, feasibility at the moment, that filtering through. So there's not, I think if they want to be ahead of the curve, we know the buyers definitely have this extra 30,000.
Yeah.
So there's a chance to be in that earlier part rather than maybe the later part when everyone goes, oh, this is a great idea, but it's going to take you a year to have the product ready. You want to be at the front of that process.
Love it. Ben McDonald from Fentons Conveyancing, thank you so much for jumping on the show, mate.
Thanks, Todd.
I don't know about you guys, but if you know anyone that is a first home buyer, absolutely send them this episode if they're in South Australia, because this could change things like big time for them. And if you're not a first home buyer, which more than likely you're not if you're listening to this show, I hope you take this information in the way that it really is intended, to use it to have a bit of a closer look at what's going on in the market and how this could really affect things moving forward, if you play your cards right in a super positive way. But if you're not sure on any of the details and you want someone in your corner that's going to take care of it, from an accounting perspective and a financial advisory perspective, get in touch with KHI and support the people that support us here at Pizza and Property and actually make the show possible. You want an accountant that has the in-depth knowledge of the tax system and portfolio creation that actually practices what they preach. The accountants at KHI Partners are a dedicated team of property investors that have helped over 16,000 of their clients successfully grow their portfolios, whilst getting the best return to actually match their strategy. That is a key point. You go to the wrong accountant, they can just obliterate everything else that's good. So if you're looking for an accountancy firm that has the knowledge on property investing and the expertise to help with your property goals, talk with KHI today. Click the link in the show notes below to find out more. And seriously, if you don't have the right accountant in your corner, it is one of those kick yourself moments in 5-10 years time when you do find them. So save yourself the pain and find them now. It's much better when you've actually got good accountancy advice on your side from the start. But otherwise, guys, that is enough from me. This is your weekly slice edition. My name's Todd Sloan. You're listening to the Pizza and Property Podcast. And as always, have yourself an amazing rest of the week and stay awesome.